Travis Wayne Goodsell. As there are a sufficient number of Mormons who, despite not catching on by the titles that they need to behave, they still choose not to behave. And so I thought it would be necessary to go over another Knowing TWG video. That's the playlist. And talk about how I dealt as a believing Mormon with those who were against the church. I should be going to bed. I'm all at a stopping point for tonight. I am a little bit tired, even though I'm choking to death right now. But if I go to bed now, I'll end up waking up at 11. And I don't want to get into that habit. It's been bad enough the last several days. Except for Friday. Getting my shower and shaving done around noon. So, I guess we need to start with Corona, California. That's when Tom Jones, my neighbor and peer in my grade, had gone to the born-again Christian church that was over in across the freeway, right there on the corner at Corona High, which was right across the street from the LDS chapel. And he had watched Godmakers. And of course his pastor spent the majority of his time recruiting high school students to attack Mormons. And one time the born-again Christians of his congregation TP'd the LDS church across the street, as I found out when I went to early morning seminary there. In those particular cases, I understood TPing to be a practical joke type situation, which is kind of mean, because especially if the toilet paper gets wet from the morning dew or a rain, it is very ugly to try to clean up. And so it is kind of mean to have born-again Christians doing that kind of thing. Carrie Bain, who was a peer and Mormon, apparently she had a crush on me, never knew about it, didn't even know it was her that hearted me, and I didn't even know it was me that was being hearted. As I woke up to go to early morning seminary and saw all the hearts all over the place and went, oh hell no, I'm not cleaning this up. and yeah, I think it was my dad who ended up having to clean it up. But at least that, it is nicer. I mean, yes, there's a lot of work to clean that up, but it's not something that, is wet toilet paper. And so it didn't seem, from my view as a teenager, that they were being very Christ-like. And Tom approached me and said that my church was false and that I'm not allowed to drink coffee. and I don't recall the back and forth conversation, other than we ended both saying, well, we'll find out when we're dead who's right and who's wrong. And he agreed, and that was that. And I was able to get out of that because I didn't know Mormonism well enough, as I do now, to have a sound debate. And thus I resorted to fallacies such as, oh, well, we'll find out when we're dead who's right and who's wrong. So, yeah, I understand exactly what Mormon apologists are doing. And it's wrong. They're adults now. They're not kids. So cut out the pharisaical arguments. But they don't. And they refuse to do their research and study on true Mormonism. And thus, they have to resort to fallacies to defend the church. I remember the news a couple years back when a church here in Utah got tagged with an inverted pentagram and other hate messaging, and the bishop of that ward, or one of the bishops of that ward, because there are several that typically attend the same building, he was reported on the news as, kind of distraught that the people who have problems with the church couldn't come and talk to him about it. If he doesn't understand that all they were doing was decorating the church with the symbol of the church, how is he supposed to communicate effectively and soundly with those who have a problem with the church? I mean, for all we know, it could have been faithful Mormons who said, oh, there's a inverted pentagram on the temple of Salt Lake, and on this eagle gate, eagle, I almost said seagull again, they're on State Street, so let's put it on our churches. Could be. To use an apologetic reply. But the news, tried to defend the church by not pointing out that inverted pentagrams are on the Salt Lake Temple and were first put on the Nauvoo Temple after Joseph Smith had died, and was also on the Logan Temple, and they could have had an excellent opportunity to explain that it's not really a hate crime because the church actually does embrace the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. But no, they couldn't do that. And so in high school, I was put on the basketball team. I was told to join the junior high team there in Auburndale. But the incident with Stan Lowry occurred, and I was in a cast. And so all I could do was just hang out in the cast at practices. It seemed like, why am I here? Why am I now going to these games? And so when the cast finally did come off, and I was trying to shoot a basketball, couldn't hit the rim, let alone make a basket. And then free throws, yeah, I was horrible. I was worse than Michael Jordan when he first started playing the game. And but they wanted me to play in high school because of my height. And so in high school, Peter Paul, nope, that's the New Yorker who died in 9/11. Pete, I can't remember his last name anymore. So we'll just call him Pete. He was also a part of this born-again Christian church. And he started telling me that I was a Satan worshiper. And he would joke about it. He wasn't angry, as some people would if they really believed you were a Satan worshiper. And so apparently this born-again Christian church knew of the inverted pentagrams of Mormonism. But I didn't, and Pete didn't mention it. He just said I was a Satan worshiper and would joke with the sign of the devil and blah, blah, blah. And I'd just shake my head, put the headphones back on as we were on the bus traveling to wherever, high school, to play a game for that night. And could have been North High, where we had to have an armed escort into the locker rooms, and as they had guard towers. We won that one game that year. And then North went on to win the league. But we were the one team that beat them, and we lost every other game. So that was kind of a weird one. But from my point of view, not really knowing Mormonism, I just had faith that I would eventually learn the answer and it would be explained. And so I didn't bother with what people were throwing at me as a high school kid. There was in I think it was 6th grade. That would have been Placentia, California. We were assigned to do some kind of a project, and we were supposed to give a report on it in class. I can't even remember what mine was. But 3 girls decided to group together and do a report on a Ouija board. And they came back and wanted to change. They had told of their experience about how when they began, the room all of a sudden got cold. And then they couldn't speak anymore about what happened because something happened that freaked them out so much that they put the game away, and they properly did not close out the game because you're supposed to end it properly. They're supposed to say, "Oh, okay, time to close. Got it. Bye." And if they don't do that, you have opened the portal to doom. And so, yeah, they were all freaked out. And I remember sitting back as a Mormon boy going, "Oh, yeah, see, the devil's real, church is true." And, yeah, I know all about what happened because the church tells me that Lucifer is the spirit that was cast down from heaven. But that's relying on other people's light, borrowed light, as it's referred to in the church. It's somebody else who told me that information, and I just believed it and repeated it to myself when I heard of this scenario. But I was always trying to figure out, okay, well, how does it work? and trying to figure things out as to the processes and procedures, and finding out if there's any kind of contradictions and stuff like that. So that was always interesting, as that was my intuitive nature to question and to challenge my own knowledge. And so when I got on my mission, obviously there's a lot of people that want nothing to do with the church. I was born Catholic, I will die Catholic, slam! The bird, man! The bird! And drunk Vietnam vets who want to rip off my arm because they think I'm CIA. But the funniest part, as I've told before, was when we went, Mark Augustine and I, in Newburgh, New York, visited a woman, a single mother, which was common, too common in New York, with a bunch of kids, and gave her the Book of Mormon, told her to read, ponder, and pray to find out if it was true. And that never sat well with me, but that's what we do. And about a week later, we bumped into the older daughter, teenage daughter, and she was with a group of girlfriends, which, yeah, I knew that was bad to confront the girlfriend, and I didn't want to. Mark was the one who wanted to. So he did, and he took the lead and said, "Oh, hey, you read the Book of Mormon?" She goes, "Yeah." "Well, how did you think of it?" "Did you read, ponder, and pray?" "Yeah." "What was the answer?" "It was false." That's why getting feelings is not the right Mormon doctrine, Mormons. Because anybody can just say, "Oh, I don't feel like this is good." You know, if you're unfamiliar with Chinese, the reason why the church has changed the title of the Book of Mormon to the Book of More Good is because in Chinese, Mormon is some kind of a beast creature of the demon underworld. And so when missionaries first went out among the Chinese in Hong Kong and other places here in the United States, that was a situation where you present a book about a demon beast, and that's going to cause some fear. They're not going to want to read, ponder, and pray. They already know it's not what they want to be a part of. And Mormons don't understand that concept, is that Christian world has a Bible, and they need no more Bible. Mormons all know that passage and prophecy, and so thus I play games with Mormons. A quad, we have a quad and need no more quad. Throwing it back in Mormons' faces, because the church refuses to add to what Joseph Smith did. They won't do it. We were forced to put the official declaration for polygamy in there. The United States said, "Do it, or you will never be a religion ever again." And Utah will never become a state in the Union. And then they did another official doctrine for The allowance, because it's not revelation, it's an official declaration saying we're allowing blacks to pay us money and go to the temple. And so, and of course, that lifted the law on against polygamy that same year. And so it became necessary for me to know the church doctrine, to know the church theology, to know the scriptures. Not just read, ponder, and pray and get a feeling. I had too many experiences where I was clueless as to whether it was from God or from my own will or from another source. I couldn't distinguish just by feelings alone. And that's why I learned, oh, got it. Seed, the word. You make it reality. So Nephi gets the word, build a boat. He builds the boat. He doesn't feel good about, oh yeah, building a boat would be good. It's true. No. Or I can do the Gaston impression. It's true, LeFou. I love that part. Oh, Beauty and the Beast was awesome. Not much the live. I like the cartoon version. Those three blondes were just hilarious. And so I think I might have that clip in the program, or I could easily make it for this video. We'll see. I'm almost done. And so it is troubling, as one who did the work, as one who found the answers. Because if the church didn't provide the answer, and the church says you can ask questions, you just can't question. And so lots of Mormons have lots of questions, but they've been censored and silenced and shunned from going further with those questions, so that Mormons now say, well, we'll wait until after we're dead to know what the truth is. It's not essential to my salvation. We'll find out in the millennium. We'll wait for the president of the church to tell us all things that we should do, being compelled, rather than exercising our own faith to produce the boat, rather than just having feelings that a boat would be a good idea. And so it is troubling, as one who is obedient to Mormonism. I am obedient to Mormonism. Joseph Smith's Mormonism, though. And Mormons don't get it. They refuse to accept it because they insist that Joseph's Mormonism is the current church's Mormonism. One and the same, because they won't bother to check. They don't do the work. They just stick with feelings, nothing more than feelings, trying to forget my feelings of you. I can't put that sound clip in my videos anymore because YouTube instantly flags it for one particular obscure country out in Europe. And that brings up another thing I found out today that is kind of disturbing. The church, see, Russia, in which continent does it belong? And if you say Eurasia, we're not putting that in the equation. It's either Europe or Asia. Which is Russia? Asia. And yet, when the western borders of Russia broke off, they became Eastern European countries. Well, if the branch-offs from Russia are Eastern European, why is Russia now European? The church is the only one who considers Russia European. And the church news came out with a thing about the new mission presidents for 2021, and they have the little map chart thing showing the zones, and Russia over the top of Asia is colored the same as Europe. Now that concerns me, because I know Putin's plan is to invade Europe and conquer it and include it as Russia. Not just Ukraine and Crimea, all of Europe. And why is the church going along with this? That's disturbing to me. But I digress. But I had to get that out somehow in some video. It's by pursuing the truth, I answered all my questions. And yes, it's sad that Brigham Young is the beast that he is. It's sad that Mormons attack me rather than trying to reclaim me as they do other ex-Mormons. And so, I'm the biggest threat to the church. The church has tried to have me assassinated. And that is teaching Mormons to do the same thing. That's not Mormon doctrine, guys. That's not being Christ-like, guys. Jesus wasn't a hired assassin with a machete. I'm sure I could probably find a picture that's been photoshopped with Jesus and an AK-47 or something. But that's not true religion. It's not true Mormonism. And as I led the right example by pursuing truth, rather than just sticking with not knowing and waiting for somebody someday to tell me the answers, I guess I don't understand as Mormons refuse to do what they are ordered to do and claim that they are righteous nonetheless, justified in attacking other people who don't believe like them, in lying, deceiving, covering up, following the example of the church, using fallacious arguments, which is lying, and even getting criminally abusive, cyberbullying, and even attempted murder with me. Trying to take away my life, to silence me, to protect the church at all costs. And Mormons just don't understand that when you choose the wrong, the end result will not be righteousness. You don't save the church at all costs. The ends justifying the means. Because if the means are wicked, the end result is wicked. And thus you don't save the church. That's why the primary song, Do What Is Right, which has become a hymn now, is correct. It's one of the few hymns that are correct. Do what is right. Let the consequences follow. Because if you do what is wrong, even if you think it's for a noble cause, like protecting the church, you lose. and you take the church down with you. And Mormons aren't even going to make it this far into the video to even hear what my message is for this video. They're already too upset by whatever title I'm going to put on, and upset with Jesus with an AK-47, and wondering, why are there 3 blonde girls doing a little wiggle jiggle in the beginning of the video? Because they'll never listen into the video to find out. They're too busy putting a thumbs down and running away. That's Mormons. That's the church. That's why I'm a critic.